With two tournaments that are slightly staggered, it's really hard to try and do a mid-round. So at the end of the rounds, much more easy. So a post-round 4 will be more complete. Post-round 3 means first 2 days for the men, first day for the ladies. But if I do it the other way, you're always going to have an imbalance. And frankly, I had more time on Saturday than I'm likely to have on Sunday. So here we go. On the women's side, we only had 4 games, and realistically, 2 of them, as expected, were not super tight. They were pretty gone. Even the UCLA one that looked score-wise at the beginning of the second half, it wasn't actually close if you watched any of it. So we did come down to the 2 games that I was actually most excited about. We'll see if I'm proven wrong here, because tomorrow morning's games, there should be 4 more. But the 2 we walked into, I really appreciated the mesh of styles. It was a guard-centric Vanderbilt, Notre Dame. We know the big names in Bridges and Hidalgo. And in this particular one, if you watched it, it was a pretty good back and forth and teams that had on the hot run. But I also think it was kind of a sword that burnt you and benefited you. Hidalgo was a good case of that, whereas at times, when Vanderbilt was going on their runs, they were a little bit over-aggressive. Michaela kind of held her own. There was a good team effort to bring it back. However, for the most part, that running motor of Notre Dame was just too much. If you didn't watch, the stats didn't really do it justice, although the stats really did Hannah Hidalgo justice. A triple-double and almost a quad-double. She was 3 assists short, so that means, yes, not only did she score 30, but she had 10 steals. And if you were watching it, most of the steals turned into buckets the other way. It did come down to some late shot making and a great assist from Hidalgo to actually cash it in, but you really did get that sense that Vanderbilt needed a push that they just weren't going to get. Great for Notre Dame, and honestly, an upset that very few people had. On the flip side, or the other side, I should say, the last game for the women today, the one I was most excited about, and the one that really divided our pool fairly evenly. I'd say there was more that went on the number 2 LSU side, which is expected considering they're the mild favorite, but a lot of people also still loved Duke. Now, they're going up in a tough matchup next, so I don't know how many people. Well, I do know how many people. It wasn't too many that I'm going to the Final Four, but you're looking for any points you can get in our pool right now. So this was a big one, and I really thought sometimes when I talk about the women's game now, I do get nostalgic, as I think I said last week, about the men's game in the 90s, because you had people in a program for 3 or 4 years in a row, and you had teams that had a chance to gel. You did see a slight difference in how they were with each other. On the guys' side, we see some great talent, but it comes and goes so quickly. They move around a lot faster, although the women are taking advantage of the transfer portal. But they tend to stay longer and then go to the W as opposed to the NBA guys. I mean, right now, the top 5 predicted to go to the NBA. There's only 1 still in the tournament because they were phenomenal talents, but maybe the team didn't have the depth. We don't really get that in the women's side, so we can be a little judgier on growth. Speaking of Hidalgo, she's someone that obviously she's been first team All-NCAA 3 years in a row, but you can see how she's progressed and actually become a little bit more efficient, and she gets burnt a lot less with her aggressive defense. Maybe compare that to LSU and Flau'jae Johnson. She seems to be making the same mistakes she was as a rookie. Now, she's crazy athletic, and she's a lot smarter than she lets on with some of her offensive plays. She seems to know how to pace, and on that case, I think it's fine, but she bit on pretty much every thought of a pump fake. And especially on that last play, they knew they had the 1-point lead. They didn't know there was a 3, so it's not like they had to force out or they could let anyone into the lane. But you were looking at someone in Jackson who had just missed her free throws, and you don't really know what someone's trying to do there, but you know that she might have been more aggressive. But the way that Johnson was jumping out, like if you look, she jumped twice on one essential pump fake, and then shot goes off. It's history. Bounce arounds in a corner, and Duke has the buzzer beater so far of the round. I'm not blaming, because I know people have habits, and as a coach, not every player's attributes are things that I have a huge hand on, but in a program like that that's supposed to be a little bit more together, I think it just comes down to I'm not in love with LSU. I mean, Kim Mulkey is obviously a character. I don't know if it's her. I don't think I subconsciously blame her for some of the stuff she said in the past, but maybe it's because she kind of reminds me of like a leprechaun that took growth hormone and dyed her hair blonde. I'm not really sure, but I just don't seem to love the way they play. And you don't want to compare her to the best, but if she wants to be seen as the best, you look at someone who's gone through like South Carolina for 3 or 4 years. They come out usually heavily improved. There's a level of maturity, and Dawn Staley kind of demands that. So if she wants to be compared to one of the best because she's won and because she's bounced around and had success, then maybe someone who's been in your program for a couple years in a row, maybe I just expect to see more growth. Maybe that's just me being a jerk store. It'll be interesting to see with Duke and Carol Lawson. They started so weak and now they're finishing so strong, but they bump up obviously against a real tough matchup here. So they have a chance. I think it's already a win for them. They got one round further than they were supposed to with the start they had this year, but they really do have a chance to try and punch this tournament and flip it upside down. I don't know if I see that happening though. On the guys' side, we kind of had a buzzer beater if you include not boxing out super well and getting a weird rebound and a putback, a buzzer beater, but it technically was just before the buzzer, I suppose. It's still a great game. I mean, Iowa winning the Battle of Corn, that's pretty good for them. I think in general, the vibe for me, I did appreciate a lot of the games. I really liked watching kind of the different structures that you see at this point. Some strong teams, but they play differently. I think Illinois is probably the MVP or the MIP, as in people who saw them knew they were this good, but people who haven't really seen them much probably didn't know how great offensively they were. Big Ten is a huge winner, having half the 8, and they will have half the 4, because I think they all kind of line up that way. For me, though, the games this morning, I appreciated them, and I definitely, it was enough to I didn't need as much coffee, put it that way. I was pretty excited, but the game that I really love from start to finish, I certainly, the one that I wanted number one overall, it hates that they were both Duke related, but Duke St. John's, it's the game that I was even talking to someone I coach with, when you kind of take over a program and you really want to set some things out, and we do some, I think we all have a problem. I mean, if you're in international schools, and there's a good chance if you're in this you are, but there's a chunk that aren't, you always think like, players from over here have a hard time watching full games, but talking to a lot of my friends with kids, I think a lot of kids just watch highlights, and maybe we did more than I think that we did, and it's always been a thing, but I think with some of the short media reels, it's even worse. So I usually ask players to try and watch full games or full halves just to get better ideas, and I always pinpoint some games for homework. This one's going to be a summer homework lesson for my guys, just because super physical, but not in that way that got overly aggressive and chippy, very competitive, but again, had that line of composure and not over the top. And it really came down to executing and not executing. St. John's, when they ran tempo and they pushed and they kept things within their wheelhouse, looked down low, looked to go in and out, they had a phenomenal offense, and then unfortunately at the end of it, maybe Duke brought him out, but they brought him into an ISO game, and they just did not make great decisions in that last minute offensively, whereas Duke kept their composure. I hate to say it, but they did. Made some mid-rangers, which made the old guy like me feel pretty good. Made their free throws and essentially just executed when they needed to. All in all, not a flawless game, but that's the perfect March Madness game, especially if you want players to learn, because they can highlight where the mistakes happened, how the matchups broke down, how the changes in tempo worked. So for me, I couldn't sing enough about it. Quick check-in with the pool, and I know you can do this on your own, but a couple things I wanted to highlight. Number one, congrats to Rennie with a 1-point lead on Jackie. Branch, you're hanging in there too. You're right there in the hunt. And remember, each round the points are more, so having more Final Fours than the other, having some of them knocked out, it's actually a big deal. So I'm going to leave it on you to kind of check how we go through here. You can look at people above and below you to see just how much it could have an impact. I believe it's 8 points for the win plus the bonuses if it's the underdog. You keep looking down the list, tied for 4th here. Shane, you've been hanging on since the beginning. You're just seeing if you can grind your nails down. Remember, top 7 gets the payout. Donahue, always awesome to see you here, buddy. Tied here with Arizona. Now, if Arizona takes it, obviously, you're going to have to jump ahead. Same with Shane and same with Jake and Cam. We got some former winners here. I'll talk about that in just a sec. We all know how it works in terms of you want to be on top of the pile, and then if common champions go, and this is really one of the last weekends to do that because we run out as we go forward. Plus, do remember, if you're down here and you've got all 4 Final Fours and both finalists still kicking, you definitely have a shot. I'm highlighting someone who may be super interested in Illinois and how they kick off. Obviously, we got some Michigan in the mix, Connecticut with Baby Ryan. That would be pretty great if he had a title before he had a tooth. If we look at our top 7, though, we got 1, we got 2, and we got 3 out of the 7 that are former winners, and a few others that we can say have won in the money before, so pretty exciting. Something that I just want to highlight whenever we complain, or whenever people might complain, like with the women's game and men's game, and some things that might be justified or not justified in terms of unfairness. You want a random one that's super unfair, and I say it every year. Here, see this scenario generator? You can click on the scenario generator. Now, it might go to another pool. I'm in more than one. I think it just just did. So if you go down to the pools you have, you'll notice they're all guys pools that you can go to. They don't even have this option. This does not cost much money here. This is not much at all. They already have the infrastructure. They already have it. They just have to like put it into the other brackets, and they don't. And if you didn't know this, all it does here is you click, oh, let's say Duke wins, let's say Illinois wins, let's say Arizona wins, let's say Michigan wins. Then it tells you who they would be. If it is Duke and Michigan and then Duke wins, then we see Emmy's on top. If we see it's Michigan, we got Ben. So you can play around with it. I don't really do that until the Final Four because there's just so many different options you can do. But if you want to do it for your bracket, go nuts. On this side, going to I was looking at our leaders bracket. I'll go back to it in a second. I just want to highlight, what do you not see there? Scenario generator. Come on, people, you could totally do it. So Cat was out of the bag on that one. Marty, he's first right now. Congratulations, buddy. But let's not celebrate the post-third round quite yet, because you got a couple more games to go. Now, we know on the women's side, the upsets matter a lot. That Duke and LSU, that really split the pool slightly. Looking ahead, there's a couple, like Louisville is going to offer. Some have it, some don't, and that's some upset points to be going with. I don't think anyone has UVA, so that one's just more of a bust. And realistically, it's so many people have top four being the Final Four. So what you got to look at is, if that's you, can you get higher than somebody else? If that's not you, what's the team you need in there, or what are the ones you want out? You'll notice UConn. So that's right now, it's a top three because we're in the 30s for payout. That's Marty, that's Tom, that's Nikki. Rothwell, you're just on the lookout here, but look at the team. You are the top one right now for UCLA. So if it's all 4 ones and it's a UCLA UConn final, like so many predict, you'd be the one sitting there. And as of right now, you'd be taking the title if UCLA went down, whereas Marty would have it's Connecticut. But like I said, let's not celebrate it too early. There's some people right behind you here. Let's see how it goes. A little bit tougher on the women's side, like I said, because we got 4 more games tomorrow and then the other one. So we'll check in again after round 3, but pretty exciting so far. I didn't really do a looking ahead because honestly, I don't really think I need to. On the guys' side, there's a couple matchups. I mean, I already kind of let the cat out of the bag. I'm super excited to watch Illinois, and I think the 2-1-2s on the guys' side will be very interesting. I think the other one, I mean, you got more of our upset team left in Tennessee. I mean, Iowa is still technically more the upset team. I'm sorry, but going against a 1, I think the Michigan probably likes their odds the most, but that's when it can bite you the most. I'm not really worried about that one too much, and I have Michigan and other ones. I'm not trying to jinx it, but I think for me, the ones I'm looking forward to probably the most are the 1-2 matchups, but it doesn't matter. There's only 4 games in that round. I'm looking forward to all of them. On the women's side, I'm definitely getting up and watching as many as I can as they finish their Elite 8. And I think on the women's side, we get to some really, really good matchups as we go through the rounds. I'm not checking in till the end of that, so by the time I talk to you next, there'll be 4-4, and our pool will be just about ready, where we'll know all the potentials going into our last weekend. So good luck in the next 3 days. If you still have brackets that are relevant at that point, consider yourself pretty lucky. See you, crew.